I turned and walked away, my leather shoes tapping a cold rhythm on the marble floor. Behind me, I heard Bai Xue's heart-wrenching cries. Chen Mo! It's not like that. But I didn't look back. Her staggering figure, as she tried to chase after me, was roughly pulled back by Li Mei. The hotel lobby was deserted in the dead of night. My reflection on the mirrored wall was shattered. Sitting in the car, I slammed the steering wheel hard, the horn's blare echoing sharply in the parking lot. Bai Xue called. I stared at the screen for 10 seconds and then pressed reject. The car sped out of the underground garage, and raindrops began to hit the windshield. The wipers swung frantically, but they couldn't wipe away the distorted light on the windshield. I drove aimlessly. My mind was filled with Bai Xue curled up in the corner. Her black, seaweed-like long hair was messily scattered across her forehead and cheeks. Her small, exposed face was deathly pale. The wedding ring on her left ring finger flashed glaringly under the overhead light, a sharp contrast to her vulnerability. Li Mei's voice, now with a hint of panic. Your wife has fainted. The hotel is calling an ambulance. This blowing up won't be good for you. Then let her die right there. The rain poured harder. I parked the car in the middle of the Cross River Bridge. I rolled down the window. The icy rain hit my face, bringing back a shred of reason. I started to recall the details. Bai Xue had specifically put on the small, smooth pearl earrings with a soft sheen that I had given her before she left that morning. She was supposed to be back within 2 hours of the reunion. She never drank Bai Xue white liquor. Mr. Gu? Your wife is currently in the emergency room at Renha Hospital. The nurse's voice was professional and calm. A large amount of a sedative was detected in her blood, along with mild alcohol poisoning. Can you come and complete the paperwork? My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Sedative? Yes, flunitrazepam. The police are already here and require your cooperation with the investigation. I turned on the hazard lights and sped. The rain and tears blurred my vision. A police car was parked outside the emergency room, its alternating blue and red lights particularly harsh in the rainy night. Bai Xue lay on the hospital bed behind the curtain. Her face was sunken into the white pillow, paler than the sheets. Under the light, her slender eyelashes cast a small shadow beneath her eyes. A female police officer was taking notes. She closed her notebook. You are the family member? The suspect, Li Mei, confessed that you instructed her to drug your wife. What? I don't even know her. The female officer's sharp gaze scanned my entire body like an X-ray. But you did say something like send her to Maub EI? The hotel surveillance shows you leaving in an agitated state. Bai Xue on the bed coughed violently. Her cheeks briefly flushed an extremely faint red from the effort. It wasn't him, Bai Xue said weakly. The class monitor put the drug in the water. The female officer immediately stepped out to make a call. I slowly walked to the bedside, looking at the delicate skin near Bai Xue's fragile neck and the bloody scratch marks on her wrist from Li Mei's fingernails. Tears rolled from the corners of her eyes, but she didn't have the strength to wipe them away. Yes, I knelt down, my forehead resting on the edge of the bed. I'm sorry. Bai Xue's fingers moved, lightly hooking my little finger, our secret gesture from when we were dating. Her lips parted. I leaned in and heard, the ring, I never took it off. The on-duty doctor pulled the curtain open and entered. I stepped aside. After checking her pupils, he told me, the patient needs rest. You can go and complete the hospitalization procedures. Also, he lowered his voice, that type of drug can cause short-term memory confusion. She might not recall the incident. Don't stimulate her. In the hallway, I sat on the long bench, staring at my trembling hands. The police took away the class monitor who had arrived after hearing the news. I lunged at him before he could finish speaking, and 3 police officers struggled to hold me down. In the chaos, my glasses fell and shattered, turning the world into blurry patches of color. I didn't learn the truth until I finished giving my statement at 3 in the morning. The class monitor and Li Mei had planned to retaliate against Bai Xue for rejecting him years ago, and Li Mei took my angry comment as an authorization. At 6 in the morning, I dozed off in the family rest area outside the ICU. I dreamt of 17-year-old Bai Xue standing on the roof of the high school building, her slim outline just beginning to show her figure, wrapped in her school uniform. The wind lifted the hem of her blue and white uniform skirt. When I woke up, the nurse told me Bai Xue had been moved to a regular ward, but she refused to see me. The latest photo in the album was the class reunion group picture. Bai Xue stood at the very end, separated from the class monitor by at least 5 people. Scrolling down, all the pictures were of me, sleeping, cooking, fixing the faucet. I met Bai Xue's attending physician by the automatic vending machine at the end of the corridor. He added a double shot of syrup to his coffee. It will take 72 hours for the drug to metabolize. She may have emotional fluctuations during this time. The doctor looked at me meaningfully. But the real trauma is not in the blood, do you understand? I sat down on the chair by the bed. Our wedding rings were on the bedside table. She had taken hers off. When Li Mei pulled my hair, I heard you say *Mobe. At that moment, I thought it would be better to be sold to *Mobe, at least I wouldn't have to face you. 5 years of marriage, and that's how you see me. She raised her left hand. There was a clear ring mark on her ring finger. From 18 until now, I've only ever had you. As I left the hospital, I received a call from the criminal police team. Li Mei confessed more details. The class monitor had inquired about Bai Xue's marital status before the reunion and had specifically chosen our wedding anniversary for the gathering. My personal information was obtained from Bai Xue's best friend, Wang Li. Wang Li. Wang Li was the one who drove me home. The next day, when Bai Xue asked me about the lipstick stain on my shirt, I just laughed and called her suspicious. Bai Xue sent a message. There's the shredded pork bread you love in the bedside drawer. Remember to microwave it for 30 seconds. Returning to our high school alma mater, the plane trees by the field had grown taller than the academic building. The bark where we carved our names had long healed, leaving no visible trace. The gatekeeper recognized me. Oh, the model couple is back? He pointed to the honor roll. Your photo has been up there for 10 years. In the yellowed glass display case, 18-year-old Bai Xue and I were smiling side by side. The brass plaque beneath the photo read, Class of 2008 Liberal Arts Valedictorian Gu Yihan and Arts Specialist Bai Xue, both admitted to key universities. In the picture, her smile was bright and pure, her eyes seemed to hold crushed diamonds. On the morning of the third day, the hospital informed me Bai Xue could be discharged. When I arrived, I saw her combing her hair by the window. The early autumn sun outlined her soft profile. Her long, thick eyelashes quietly drooped. The sunlight gilded her silhouette like a Renaissance oil painting. I checked the surveillance. The class monitor did put the drug in your cup. Wang Li took money from them. My dashcam recorded her and the class monitor in the garage. The comb dropped to the floor, making a clear sound. Bai Xue turned around. The sun shone from behind her, and I couldn't see her expression. Why are you checking all this? Because I need to know just how much of an idiot I was. Outside the window, sparrows landed on the air conditioner unit, chirping. Bai Xue bent over to pick up the comb. The collar of her hospital gown was loose and slipped to her shoulder as she moved, exposing a patch of bruising on her delicate collarbone, like plum blossoms on snow. I knelt down to help her, smelling a faint scent of disinfectant mixed with her usual jasmine perfume. Was it because you wanted a bigger house? I've signed the divorce papers. The asset division is clear. I only want the art studio. I took the document and tossed it directly into the trash can. I breached the contract. I knelt on one knee in front of the hospital bed, holding her hand just like when I proposed. But please give me another chance. Her hand was cold. The bruises on her wrist looked like faded tattoos. This time, let me pursue you, starting from high school. A nurse peeked in and quietly backed out. Bai Xue's tears hit the back of my hand, scalding. How will you pursue me? On the way home, Bai Xue pointed to the bubble tea shop outside the high school gate and smiled. The first time you bought me bubble tea, you added a double portion of pearls. I pulled over, ran to buy 2 identical cups. I've muted notifications from all female colleagues. I inserted the straw and handed it to her. Except for Aunt Zhang from HR. Bai Xue laughed, biting a pearl. A faint dimple briefly bloomed on her pale cheek. Her dimples at the corner of her mouth were fleeting. Bai Xue unfolded the pale blue dress, her eyes reddening. It's the same as the one from the high school graduation ball. Tears clung to her eyelashes. You still remember? I remember. I took out the key to open the door. That day you refused the class monitor's invitation and came to dance with me, the bookworm. The lock clicked open. Just like this time, you clearly could have chosen an easier path. Bai Xue buried her face in the new dress, her voice muffled, because the ring was never taken off. The mirror in the entryway reflected our leaning figures. The ring mark on her ring finger was like a small moon. Sunlight slanted in from the French window, outlining all the shadows with gold. On the first night after Bai Xue was discharged, we hovered in the bedroom doorway like 2 clumsy beginners. She was holding her change of clothes. You go first? She nodded, then shook her head, and finally whispered, Can you check if the bathroom mirror is stable? This was the first time she had actively sought help. I quickly went to check the mirror frame, which had never been loose. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her tense shoulders slightly relax. Amidst the roar of the water heater igniting, I heard her quietly say, Thank you. The moment the bathroom door closed, I let out a long breath and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my hands. The sound of trickling water and steam seeped through the door crack, carrying the scent of her usual jasmine shower gel. It was a message from Wang Li. Heard she's out of the hospital? Need me to recommend a therapist? I immediately blocked the number. Bai Xue came out wearing a high-necked, long-sleeved nightgown completely covering her wrists. A pale blue bruise was visible on the nape of her neck as she dried her hair. I immediately looked away, but my gaze hit my own distorted expression in the dressing mirror. The water temperature was perfect, she said, drying her hair. Her wet long hair cascaded down like black silk, water droplets shimmering in the light. She wrapped a towel around the dripping ends. This action reminded me of the night I proposed, when she was drying her hair on the terrace, the moonlight making the water droplets look like diamonds. When it was my turn to shower, she had meticulously spread the non-slip mat, and even squeezed the toothpaste onto the brush. These details were like countless fine needles, pricking my heart. As the hot water streamed down my back, I remembered what the officer had said. Flunitrazepam can cause short-term memory confusion. Victims often have fragmented memory loss. When I came out after drying my hair, only the bedside lamp was on in the bedroom. Bai Xue was already lying on her side, her back to me. I quietly turned off the light and lay down on my half of the bed, leaving enough space between us for another person. In the darkness, I heard her steady breathing and the fleeting light spots projected onto the ceiling by occasional car headlights outside the window. At 3:17 a.m., I was woken by suppressed sobs. Bai Xue was curled up in a fetal position. Her thin back convulsed under the nightgown. Her fingers were tightly clutching the pillowcase. Her crying was leaking through her fingers, like a wounded small animal. I reached out and then withdrew my hand, just gently pulling the quilt up to her shoulder. She threw herself into my arms, tears soaking the front of my pajamas. I can't remember, she sobbed. I only remember Li Mei pulling my hair, and then. I didn't. The denial burst out, but it sounded incredibly feeble in the dark. This accusation hurt more than any physical injury. I held my body stiffly, letting her punch my chest, until she fell asleep from exhaustion. The moonlight shone on her wet eyelashes. I made my decision before dawn. The next day was Saturday. I woke up 2 hours earlier than usual. As the aroma of coffee filled the kitchen, Bai Xue appeared in the doorway wearing my old shirt. The oversized clothing made her look even more fragile. Her bare calves looked particularly slender in the morning light. The hem fell above her knees. This was an outfit we often wore in college. Morning, she said, rubbing her eyes, her voice heavy with sleep. Are you making hangover soup? I turned down the heat. Even though you didn't drink. This was my hometown recipe. My mother often made it for my father after he had been drinking heavily. Bai Xue paused, and a slight smile lifted the corner of her mouth, the closest expression to a smile since she was discharged. The sunlight was perfect during breakfast. She slowly sipped the soup, saying, I want to go to the art studio today. Her finger traced circles on the table. The paints must be getting moldy. I swallowed my bacon and nodded. I'll take you. The studio was on the top floor of an old residential building in the west of the city, a birthday present I rented for her when we got married. Pushing open the door, dust danced in the sunlight. Bai Xue went straight to the easel draped with a white cloth. She pulled it back to reveal an unfinished oil painting. A girl in a school uniform standing on the roof of the academic building, the wind lifting her skirt and long hair. I didn't finish it before graduation. She ran her finger over the outline of the girl on the canvas. Now I see the proportions are off. I stood behind her, smelling the familiar scent of turpentine. A sticky note was attached next to the easel. Her neat handwriting read, Finish before Han Ji's birthday. The date was 1 week before the incident. On the way back, we stopped at the supermarket. Bai Xue lingered in the produce section. I missed strawberries the most while I was in the hospital. She picked up a box and inspected it carefully. When she lowered her head slightly, fine strands of hair fell from the back of her neck, revealing a small section of smooth, delicate skin. The wisps of hair at the back of her neck swayed with her movement. I took the shopping bag from her arms, and she didn't pull away when our fingertips touched. Dinner was the beef stew with tomatoes she made. The seasoning was perfect. As I was doing the dishes, she hugged me from behind, her cheek resting against my back. The drug effect seems to be wearing off, her voice was muffled. I can remember more things today. The lemon water the class monitor gave me had a bitter taste. Water splashed onto my shirt from the faucet. I turned off the water and hugged her. She was trembling in my arms, but this time she didn't cry. That night, we slept in the same bed for the first time without incident. When I woke up in the morning, one of her legs was draped over my knee, and her hair was scattered in the crook of my arm. This long-missed position kept me frozen, until she mumbled groggily, 5 more minutes of sleep. I ran into the HR director in the elevator. He looked at me, seemingly wanting to say something. Wang Li has been transferred to a branch company. I nodded, thinking that woman got off too easily. During lunch break, I slipped out and bought a surveillance camera. Bai Xue watched me install it when I got home. When I hesitated to explain its purpose, she stood on tiptoe and kissed me. Does the study computer need a solid-state drive? For storing the footage. At that moment, I realized we were both rebuilding our sense of security in our own ways. On Wednesday evening, I noticed Bai Xue was secretly writing things down. I woke up in the middle of the night to the bathroom light on and the scratching sound of a pen on paper. Through the slightly ajar door, I saw her sitting on the toilet lid in her nightgown writing. A notebook was on her knees, and next to it was the Venetian glass cup we bought on our honeymoon. Li Mei's earrings were heart-shaped. The class monitor handed me the water with his left hand. There was a crack on the ceiling. She was piecing together the fragments of her memory. I retreated back to bed, my heart aching. The notebook mysteriously disappeared the next morning, but she ate half a bowl more rice at dinner. On the weekend, we went to Chenghuang Temple to fulfill a vow. Bai Xue wore a pale green dress. She stood on her tiptoes to tie a red ribbon on the marriage tree. Her slender fingers deftly tied the red string. Her wrist looked particularly fair in the sunlight. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on her face. The temple keeper smiled and handed us a concentric lock. No need for fortune sticks this year. I can tell from your faces that this is a good match. It rained on the way back. We huddled under the eaves of a convenience store, waiting for a taxi. Bai Xue leaned her face on my shoulder, humming a tune. It was Wife's Conspiracy, a song I often played for her in high school. A taxi sped through the rain curtain, splashing water. I instinctively shielded her, and the mud water splashed all over my trousers. Idiot, she laughed, wiping my trousers with a handkerchief. Her eyes were bright, like stars after the rain. Life gradually returned to normal, but shadows continued to grow out of sight. On Tuesday afternoon, Bai Xue called, her voice trembling. The school told me to stop teaching for an investigation. I immediately took time off and rushed over. It turned out Wang Li had spread rumors that Bai Xue had moral flaws, and the Education Bureau had received an anonymous tip. In the principal's office, Bai Xue sat opposite me, her back straight. The morning light made one side of her face look like white porcelain. I demand to see the content of the report, she said. Her left hand unconsciously rotated her wedding ring, a small gesture she made when nervous. I contacted the police officer in charge of the case directly. The next day, the police issued a statement explaining the situation, which completely debunked the rumors. On Friday evening, we received a court summons. The class monitor was suing us for defamation. On Monday morning, I received a text message from an unknown number at the company. Your wife's sexy photos will be online soon. The attached preview image was clearly AI generated. On Wednesday, the police confirmed the photos were AI fakes created by the class monitor. This idiot sent himself to prison. During the night of observation in the hospital, we squeezed onto the narrow bed. If it's a girl, we'll call her Little Raindrop. Why? Because we started over on a rainy day. The heart monitor line was steady and strong like an endless love song.